point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 522nd edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and the amazing Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
What?
In the flesh.
In the flesh, the invisible man.
But not in the studio.
Not in the studio, just as usual, in the flesh. I'm still alive, having had the surgeries that I mentioned in the last show. And it seems to be not perfect, but as I said, I'm alive. So anyway, this show is stories taken from my blog, geoharvey.com. We are starting on the 4th of May, Thursday the 4th of May. And if you...
That's a week ago Thursday.
What's that?
That's a week ago.
That's a week ago. And if you are interested in pursuing these individual stories, you can click on the calendar for that date or the subsequent dates that we bring up. And my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. There's also a file down below on the screen that you can download, and a site that you can link to that has just the stories from this.
Some of the stories are very excellent.
Some of them are excellent, no question.
You know, they're not all wonderful, but some of them really have a lot of meat. But
yeah,
my God, we could spend the entire show just talking on one of them.
Yeah, that's the case. So I'm going to launch into these things, Tom, if you don't mind. As I said,
chance.
Okay, we're talking about Thursday, May 4th here. And the first item that we have is from Renews. We have a picture of a wind farm, and we have a title for a story, and you know what the title is, Tom, don't you, Tom?
RWE turns side on the onshore substation.
Yeah, Thor onshore substation.
Thor, yeah, right.
That's right.
Mighty Thor.
Mighty Thor. RWE is the name of a German company.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It's the Rhineland and Westphalia Electric Company.
Very good. Thank you very much. I didn't know that.
Well, they don't use that name anymore. They go by RWE.
Yeah, that's what companies do. At some point...
Now, they're a multinational energy company based in Germany.
Okay.
They're Europe's third largest company in renewables.
Very
and number 2 in the German offshore wind. So they're nobody to fool around with.
Okay. Well, let me read the synopsis. RWE has started building the onshore substation of its 1 gigawatt Danish offshore wind farm called Thor. The onshore substation will be built in the municipality of Lemvig. RWE will build Thor offshore wind farm in the Danish part of the North Sea, approximately 22 kilometers off the coast of Torsminde.
So that's about 18 miles or so, 17, 18 miles.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. And at that distance, my guess is that a person onshore would probably not be able to see any of these wind turbines at all.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you could see them and they would annoy you, there's something wrong with you.
I think you might be able to see them if you had a strong enough telescope, because they're tall enough that the curvature of the Earth would not sink them be below the horizon. Okay, should we go on, Tom?
Yeah, we got a picture coming up of a Ford Mustang Mach-E.
That is right. That's what it is. This is from Clean Technica.
Ford Mustang Mach-E now has more range and lower prices.
Yes. Ford announced that it's granting EV enthusiasts their wishes for longer range and lower costs. Ford had stopped accepting orders for the Mustang Mach-E until it could fill more of its existing orders. Now it says it's ready to open the order books once again, but at a lower price and a longer range.
I'm seeing a trend here.
Yeah, I think this is going to continue more than likely.
For a while, anyhow.
Yeah. Okay, onward we go.
Let's move along here. We're looking at a picture of a gas flame.
We are. And it says cooking with gas.
That's what it says, yeah.
Okay, this is for...
I was just going to say what it says.
Okay, go ahead.
New York becomes the first state to ban natural gas stoves and furnaces in most new buildings. We've talked about this in the past.
We have, but it's never been banned in a state before. This article is from CNN. New York is the first state in the country to ban natural gas and other fossil fuels in most new buildings. A major win for climate advocates, but a move that could spark pushback from fossil fuel interests. The law was pushed by climate-minded voters. So
that's in the right direction, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you know this is not something that should. I think it's not something that should concern people unless they...
It's not hardship.
What's that?
It's not hardship.
It's not a hardship, and it's not happening immediately either. This is something that the companies that build these buildings can prepare for. Yep. So the gas interests and so forth are going to have to worry about it, oil and so forth. They're going to have to worry about reducing reduced sales, but the fact of the matter is they're going to have to worry about reduced sales one way or the other. They're going to have to be prepared. If they aren't prepared, they shouldn't be blaming it on New York State.
No, of course not.
Yeah. You got more on that?
No, it's just that if New York State does anything at all, it's usually big.
And here I thought that was Texas that was usually big. Yeah, well, okay. We have another picture here. This particular picture, right in the middle of this picture, is a lawnmower.
Looks like a sports car.
Doesn't it? Except it's a little too small to be a sports car.
Well, it's time to retire those gas-powered lawnmowers and leaf blowers.
Yes. This is from Clean Technica. Spring has come. And I feel like going on, the grass is riz. I wonder where the boidies is. Spring has come, and it's time to tend lawns and gardens. It's also time to switch to electric lawn tools. Those gas-powered lawnmowers and leaf blowers have got to go. According to the EPA, gas-burning lawn tools account for 4% of U.S. carbon dioxide emissions.
And that's interesting. The electric ones are going to be quieter, too.
The electric ones are quieter. And, you know, I gave up on gas-powered lawnmowers many years ago. I started using electric. I think that was probably, I'm going to say 1990.
Wow.
And the reason I did that is because...
Ahead of the curve.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I was ahead of the curve on a lot of things. By 1990, I was switching to, let's see, 1990. Certainly by 1995, I was switching to compact fluorescent lights, screw-in fluorescent lights, which were kind of weird in those days.
Well, I knew about them because I was in lighting, but yes, you're right. Nobody knew anything about them.
Yeah, and a lot of the lights that I had in my house had fluorescent lights inside that were screw-in lights, but
exactly,
the screw-in was a base for a tube that went around in a kind of a small circle,
or a spiral. I mean, there's various versions of it, but yeah. I've been using them for a long time. They make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they did at one time. Now the thing that makes sense is LEDs, but one way or the other, I was using electric lawn mowing equipment, and it's quiet, it doesn't vibrate, and it doesn't poison you with fumes.
Well, you're talking about the same amount of light for about 1/5 of the power.
That's right. You're talking about light, but you know, in the lawnmowers, I've got the picture of lawnmower up again. That particular lawnmower, by the way, has figured out that it needs to have its battery charged, and it's run into its charging dock automatically.
Oh, is that what it is, huh?
Yeah, they do that, and
Yeah, I heard that.
they'll run around. They don't need your permission. You can shut them down, of course, but they will run around just mow the lawn, and that's one of the reasons, by the way, why that lawn is so good looking, because that lawn. Huh?
They got vacuum cleaners that do the same thing indoors.
Yes, that's right.
If they've got a charging dock, when they're ready, they run right over to the charging dock.
This lawnmower might mow the lawn every third day.
So it keeps it kind of clean.
It keeps it very clean. Okay, should we go on, Tom?
Can't dance.
Okay, I'm going to just jump down to the next item here.
We got a picture of a Volvo CE excavator.
That's what we've got, and an article from Clean Technica.
Volvo CE introduces battery electric 23-ton excavator. By the way, CE stands for Construction Equipment, and Volvo CE is not the same company that makes Volvo cars.
Is it the same company that makes Volvo trucks?
It makes Volvo trucks, yes.
Okay. I thought that was probably the case, but I didn't. I should have looked it up. Volvo Construction Equipment is moving rapidly on plans to offer battery-powered heavy-duty machines. Earlier this year, it announced that it was investing millions of dollars into expanding its manufacturing site in South Korea so it can make battery packs for those heavy-duty machines. And here we've got one, that we're looking at. This is a 23-ton excavator.
And they got to be a lot quieter.
Yeah, I would think that it would be. It would have to be a lot quieter. 23 tons, by the way, I think refers to the weight of the vehicle, not the amount of material that it can pick up.
I would think you're right, because 23 tons is a lot of material.
Yeah, 23 tons is a lot of material.
More than 16.
23 is more than 16, yeah. I used to have a Ford F-350. Actually, I didn't drive it much. It was mostly my brother driving it. And we were transporting a lot of gravel to bury a pipeline. And we would put 2 tons of gravel into the back of that truck, which meant that it was badly overloaded.
I was just going to say, that sounds like it's pretty well.
Well, what do you expect? You've got a couple of teenagers driving a truck around.
Yeah.
Anyway, there it is. So I'm going to go on to the next one, if you don't mind.
Now we got a funny-looking car.
Funny looking? I'm going to, let's see, where is funny looking?
It barely has fenders.
Barely has fenders. It doesn't have fenders. Well, yes, it does have
fenders.
fenders.
Yeah, there's fenders there if you look close.
This is from Clean Technica. The car is called a Lovely Zero. I think
Lovely Zero, electric car from Sweden.
Yeah, and I think...
Basic transportation.
Yes.
Very basic.
Very basic. There is a Tesla model that is uglier than this. It's called the Tesla Cybertruck. Ugly, of course, is my opinion.
Right. I agree with you. That is pretty ugly.
The Lovely Zero, I think, Lovely is the name of the company, and Zero, I think, is how beautiful the car is on a scale of 1 to 10. Anyway, it probably works, and let me read the synopsis here. Is there a place in the world for an electric city car that is simple, efficient, and low cost? Sweden's Håkan Lutz thinks so. He started Lovely, a company that will make a car so basic that it will have only one function: transporting up to 2 people in a 4-wheeled, weatherproof cocoon. You know what, Tom? I'll bet you that car can have a radio.
when you look at what most people use cars for, generically,
Yeah.
you got a great big 4 to 6 passenger car, and you're driving it just to work one way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so much of that's going on. I mean, there are some people who have small cars and they drive to work, but typically you got one car for the family, and you drive it to work in the morning, and then you take the family out in the afternoon, and it's way too much car.
Actually, typically you have 2 cars for the family, and either one of them would be way too much car.
Bingo.
Yeah. But there it is. You know, this is something that you can drive over to the supermarket, throw a couple of bags of food in, drive home, take to work, put on your 28 miles a day.
It's a basic car. It's essentially, it's basic transportation.
That's right. That's what it's for. Anyway, I'm going to go on, and we have a picture here. We're up to Saturday, May 6th, and we have a picture. This is from CNN.
And it's a wildfire in Alberta.
All right. This is what, May 6th, and it's too hot and dry in Alberta, so you've got wildfires. Does that tell you something?
Well, what is it telling you? You're going to tell us.
It's too hot and dry for May.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, you got a title for this?
More than 13,000 people in Western Canada are evacuated as wildfires rage across the region amid hot weather and high winds.
Yeah, more than 13,000 people who live in the Canadian province of Alberta have been evacuated as wildfires rage across the region, which is seeing abnormally hot weather and high winds. And this is according to energy officials. And I have to tell you, I'm going to put that picture up because I don't think I made it available to people fully. But this is, I was reading, there's another article that we're going to have. Actually, there's going to be more on this.
We're going to touch base on this later again.
We are, but there's also a heat wave that is stretching from Spain to Vietnam. And, it's like, what's wrong? Well, I'll tell you, it's not a weather event. It's the climate has turned sour. So there you have it.
That's what's happening. People confuse weather and climate, and they shouldn't.
They do. And and it's one of the things that they do is they say, well, it's cold out. It's record cold. That proves that climate change isn't happening.
Absolutely.
And what is the important thing is not that you have a heat wave or a cold wave. The important thing is how many do you have of each?
It's the trend.
It's the trend. In normal times, you'd be setting high temperature records and low temperature records. In a time of warming, you'd be setting more high temperature records than low temperature records, but you'd still have occasional low temperature records. Right now, the high temperature records are outnumbering the low temperature records by about 9 to 1. So
along here, we got a picture of a Tesla Model Y.
We do.
And if you notice, it does not have a grill.
Really? This is one of the special Model Ys that doesn't have a grill. Okay.
Tesla Model Y is now cheaper than the average U.S. vehicle.
You want to read that again, Tom? Yeah, I want to make sure you got that right.
Tesla Model Y is now cheaper than the average U.S. vehicle.
That's kind of a
Model Y is not their basic model.
Yeah, and this is from, well, we've been talking all year about how Tesla has been lowering prices and lowering prices. They've lowered prices 6 times this year already. This, by the way, is from Clean Technica. Tesla has been setting the bar for vehicle pricing in the auto industry as many automakers work to scale their first few EVs. After Tesla's sweeping price reduction since the beginning of the year, the price of the company's Model Y SUV
So that's not your basic car. That's one step up. That's
yeah,
an
dipped below that of the average car in the United States. That's, I think, kind of remarkable. So you want to save some money buying a car? Buy a cheap car. Buy a Tesla.
Bingo.
Okay, more on that, or should we?
Now, let's move along here. We've got a nice picture of a fire engine.
We have a picture of a fire engine. No hook, no ladder, just red. Okay?
Boulder, Colorado buys its first electric fire engine.
Yeah, this is also from Clean Technica.
Well,
Buses.
it makes sense because what does a fire engine do? It sits in the garage, it goes to a site and it sits there.
Yeah,
Then it goes back home.
that's right.
And it's not using a whole heck of a lot of gas for transportation.
That's right. Buses are far from the only vehicles that could benefit a city by switching to electricity. If you think about it, they could all benefit from going electric. The Boulder Fire Rescue Team acquired a Rosenhauer RTX fire engine. I'm sorry, that's Rosenbauer. RTX fire engine, which is the first electric vehicle of its kind in the state of Colorado.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because, like I say, they don't spend a lot of time cruising. You know, they're sitting in the garage, and then they're sitting at the site.
Yeah, and
they're using energy to pump because that's what this particular vehicle does. It's a pumper.
yes, and there are other vehicles that make perfect sense. Police cars. The police
Absolutely.
never want to shut them off because they want to make sure that they will just go when they jump in.
Absolutely.
An electric car, you don't have to worry about that. But with a gas-powered car, you're gonna wear the poor engine out from years of just idling. And
every once in a while, you'll find a couple of cops kill themselves from the fumes.
Yeah.
In New York City fairly regularly because the cops are hiding under a bridge somewhere.
I remember when that used to happen at drive-in movies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you'd have a couple of kids in a car and they'd leave the engine running because it was cold.
They wanted the heat.
They wanted the heat, and they wouldn't think about the fact that the fumes were not good for them. And so they'd go to the drive-in movie and wake up dead in the morning.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, it's not nice. Okay.
Let's go along here.
We have a solar array.
Something's wrong. This thing isn't scrolling. Oh, here we go.
You got it, Tom?
Yeah, it just slowed down for some reason.
I see. Well, computers do that sometimes.
Yeah, they do. There's a picture of a solar array, as you just mentioned.
Yes. This is from Clean Technica.
Analysis points to massive photovoltaic deployment to meet a decarbonization target.
Yes. A, quote, unprecedented ramp up of production capacity, end quote, over the next 2 decades is needed to provide enough solar power to completely decarbonize the global electric system. But that goal can be achieved according to an analysis by National Renewable Energy Laboratory researchers.
Well, it's the trend.
It is.
The trend. And, you know, I've said this on the show before. This is going to be too far in the future when people are going to say, can you imagine back in those days they had to pay for fuel?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Can you imagine? Okay. What do we got?
Well, here we got a nice picture of a Cheetos electric delivery truck.
That's right. And by the way, that is not an articulated truck. That is a truck that has a second part
I was going
appearing
to
to be
basically trucks.
Yeah, there's 3 trucks in this picture. One on the left, one on the right, and one in the middle. And the thing on the right, when I first saw this, I had to do a double take because I thought maybe that was a second trailer, but no, it isn't. It's
just sitting there.
It's just sitting there.
But when they get out on the road, and I don't think I've seen them here in the States, but in Europe, three trucks in a row is not unusual.
Yes, and I have seen them in the United States. I don't remember where, but obviously it was on an interstate, not
Not
on.
going to see it in downtown Brattleboro, that's for sure.
Probably not. That's correct. This is from Clean Technica.
Well, downtown Brattleboro, you're not going to see double trucks.
Oh, you were saying triple trucks. Oh, I'm sorry. I've never seen a triple truck, no. Double
I have
trucks?
never seen one here, but in Europe I've seen pictures of them.
Oh, man.
Double trucks are common on the thruway.
Yeah. Okay, what do you have for title?
Colorado's win for clean trucks.
This is from Clean Technica. In April, Colorado voted to adopt 2 historic standards to promote clean trucks in the state: the Advanced Clean Trucks Rule and the Low NOx Rule. Together, these protective standards will reduce emissions, provide millions of dollars in economic benefits to the state, and safeguard vulnerable communities.
Sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah, I'm going to move that. There we go. I put I had failed, I think, to put the truck up so people could really get a good look at it.
And the truck does not have a grill.
It doesn't have a grill. And I suspect that it doesn't make a lot of noise. And it doesn't produce black clouds of soot.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay. Should we move on, Tom?
Why not? We got a picture of a solar farm which is owned by Amazon.
Yeah. This is from CNBC.
That's the story.
Yes, it is.
Amazon is the giant when it comes to corporate buying of wind and solar power.
Big tech companies are dominating the purchase of clean power, but Amazon is lapping all of the big tech companies many times over. In 2022, Amazon bought 10.9 gigawatts of clean power, more than 4 times as much as the number 2 buyer, which was Facebook. So yeah, they're lapping them. And this is, Amazon is just buying clean power like mad.
Well, they're saving money on it.
I have a feeling that might have something to do with it. You think?
I think you're right.
Anyway, that is that picture was, I've had it up for everybody, one of their solar farms. Ah, we have a picture coming up now of Cameron Parish, Louisiana.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
looks flooded.
What's that?
It looks like it's flooded.
Well, I have a feeling that Cameron Parish always looks like it's flooded. It's largely bayou country.
But we've talked about Cameron Parish.
That's right. It is the southwesternmost county type area.
Is what they call counties in
Yeah.
Louisiana.
And it's I'm just going to guess here that it's probably about the size of Windham County and Bennington County put together.
Uh-huh.
And the whole area has a population that's kind of like the size of the population of Brattleboro. So this is not very densely populated.
Well, we've talked about these guys. These guys have to keep moving their houses because.
Well, they've almost all been told by the conservative Republican state government of Louisiana that climate change and pumping hydrocarbons out of the ground, it means that they're going to lose their homes and they have to move to some other part of the state. And basically they're saying that the whole county, almost the whole parish, is going to wind up underwater. So
I think that's inevitable.
it is, yeah, and not just Cameron Parish, but all of the Gulf counties in Florida are expected to lose large amounts of land. I'm sorry, not Florida, Louisiana.
Well, it's true about Florida too.
It is. Do you have a title for this?
I think I can find one.
Okay.
Climate change is bad for everyone, but this is where it's expected to be the worst in the U.S.
There are no winners in a world where climate change gets worse, said. There are no winners. This is a quote, by the way. There are no winners in a world where climate change gets worse, said Alex Commons, the director of the regional headquarters of Moody's Analytic and author of a recent study on climate risks in the United States. But different places face different risks from climate change. This is from USA Today, and later we are going to have a picture of a place not in the United States where there's a climate risk that is really kind of mind-blowing, but it has nothing to do with rising sea levels.
I'll wait till that comes up.
Well, you'll see it.
It's coming up soon.
It is. You got
Well,
more?
look, picture now. Take a look at a picture now of a Waubra wind farm, which is in Australia.
This is actually called the Waubra wind farm. It has some history. And this article is from Clean Technica.
Not enough wind in Australia's grid. That's interesting.
It is. As of October 2022, there were 94 operational wind farms in Australia, totaling 9,234 megawatts, so 9.234 gigawatts.
That's a few gigawatts for sure.
It sure is, but according to the article, it's not enough gigawatts. But the country needs more wind to balance the grid and add power at night to reduce the use of gas. Why encourage this in this sunny continent? Because wind plus transmission is cheaper than solar plus storage. And you know, Tom, I find that hard to believe. I find it hard.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. That surprised me.
It doesn't make sense to me.
But they've made a lot of improvements in storage recently.
They have, absolutely. I want to comment on this wind farm. This is an old wind farm. It goes back to, I think, 2009 or something like that. And the Waubra wind farm was very famous at one time, still is a bit, because of the creation of what was called the Waubra Foundation, which was intended to help the people of that area prevent the wind farm from being installed. And since that time...
It was controversial at the time, huh?
It was very controversial. And when I started my blog up in 2012, I was very interested in finding out what the truth of the thing was, because there was a lot of activity saying that wind farms were damaging human health and so forth. So I spent a lot of time looking into that. And then I think it was 2012, it might have been 2013, there was a whole bunch of articles that came up from Australia because they had somebody had done a study that showed that roughly a quarter of the wind farms in Australia had statistically significant increases in human symptoms around them. Now, that was a quarter of them. 2/3 of them had no increase. And if you think about that, you realize no increase in the numbers of sizes that are coming here probably means that all of them, or nearly all of them, had decreases. Now, it's easy to see why symptoms would decrease near wind farms, because the wind farms' presence would mean that burning coal, oil, and so forth would probably be reduced. But why would but statistically significant means this is probably not an accident. There is a relationship. And I looked at that and I thought, we're getting close to figuring out what the story is with human symptoms around wind farms. Well, of course, it takes time to put together stories, to put together studies. These things don't happen overnight. And a lot of studies were done. They eliminated one thing after another, looking at things to find out why there were some that had the symptoms and others that did not have increased symptoms. And finally, after nearly a year, the Australian press showed that there was a connection. And in the words of one of the reporters, the Australian Medical Association said basically three things. One of them is there is statistical increase, significant increase in human health symptoms near wind farms. That's the first thing. The second thing is they had demonstrated that that increase was not because of anything that was happening from wind turbines.
What was causing it?
The thing that was causing it was stress that was created by the activities of anti-wind activists.
Self-fulfilling prophecy here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, and this is not a joke. This is real. This was the result of scientific analysis. The Wabra Foundation still exists. It's still trying to prevent people from putting in wind farms. It is not successful anymore. The town of Wabra, which by the way never asked for the Wabra Foundation to come and show up and try to help them prevent a wind farm from being installed, sued them to make them stop using the name Wabra. But but the suit was unsuccessful. They are allowed to sue, but the Australian press is just not interested in the stuff that comes from or appears to be not interested in the stuff that comes from anti-wind activists anymore.
Well, the bottom line here is that the people who own the hydrocarbons are scared silly of stranded assets.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah. Okay. We're at a point where we should move on, I think, Tom.
I think so. We got a picture of a wildfire in Alberta.
This is the second picture.
Talk about wildfires in Alberta?
We did indeed. And this is just more of the same, but you know, it is more. This is from BBC.
That picture looks kind of scary.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I mean, I wouldn't want to be threatened by that kind of stuff.
Well, it says that the Canadian province of Alberta declares a wildfire emergency.
All right, you'd think that they would have declared a wildfire emergency before they evacuated 13,000 people, but apparently they hadn't. The synopsis says this...
Evacuated more than that.
Yeah. Alberta has declared a state of emergency after wildfires spread across the western Canadian province, driving nearly 25,000 people from their homes. So in the time since the previous article that we reported, more people had been evacuated.
It's doubled.
Yeah, basically it's about doubled. Faced with more than 100 wildfires, Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith called the situation in the province, quote, unprecedented, end quote. And by the way, it is still early May.
Got a ways to go, don't we?
Yeah, April showers bring May flowers. We are up to Tuesday, May 9th.
There we are, and we got a picture of...
ice.
It's a glacier.
Yes, it is. Petermann Glacier.
The Petermann Glacier.
And this, by the way... Huh?
Say what you were going to say.
This picture really irks me. And the reason is because I went to I went to CNN, and this is the picture they provided. Almost. This is not identical to the picture they provided. It's cropped differently. But the thing is, the credit in the thing at where was this? This is from CNN. The credits credited Jesse Allen and Robert Simon at NASA, and then after that credited Associated Press. So I said, how is Associated Press getting involved in that? They don't have any say in the copyright of this thing. So I said, okay, I'm not going to use it. And I went to Wikimedia Commons and discovered the first thing I looked at was this picture, which is the one that they had just credited in part to Associated Press. I just find it irksome.
Domain.
Huh?
But it's in public domain.
It's in public domain, that's right. And Associated Press initials were put on it because CNN got it via Associated Press. So anyway, What do you have for a title?
A major Greenland glacier is melting away with the tide, which could signal faster sea level rise. And by the way, glaciers melting in the sea don't rise the water level just like ice cubes in a drink.
Yeah.
But glaciers melting on land do.
Yeah, and the ones that are melting in the sea, what they do that contributes to sea level rise is they unblock the glaciers that are on land so they can get into the sea faster.
Okay.
A major glacier in northwest Greenland is interacting with the ocean tides, scientists reported in the proceedings of the National Academy of Science. This resulted in previously unaccounted for melting and potentially faster sea level rise. As sea level rise, we see it increasing in speed over and over again, and we have yet to see, as far as I can remember, a report that says, oh, you know, sea level rise is happening, it's slowing down. I just haven't seen it.
Stranded assets.
Stranded assets. That's right. Now
Let's go along here and we see an interesting picture of a conversion kit for a car.
Yeah.
And it says, and I quote, Electrogenic expands its range of drop-in, plug-and-play EV conversion kits.
Right.
It seems like that anybody who knows how to use a socket wrench can install one of these themselves.
Just about. UK-based Electrogenic wants to make the process of converting fueled vehicles to EVs fast and seamless to speed up the conversion to EVs by offering drop-in, plug-and-play kits for popular vehicles such as Land Rover Defenders, I've got 3 of those, Porsche 911s, I've got 6 of those, and Jaguar E-Types, and I have 17 of them. They're very popular.
It's a nice car, and it's costing you a lot to run. This is a good option. This
is a really good option. And by the way, if I had my druthers on a car that I could convert to an electric vehicle, it would be a D-type MG.
Uh-huh.
You know the old ones with the running boards?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm just not familiar with calling it a D-type.
Well, they had C-type, and you look at them and you don't tell the difference. But they're lovely vehicles. They were
nice, yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of vehicles that were designed in the 1930s and into the 1940s that really, when the auto designers went after these vehicles to make them look good, they were seriously engaged in making them look good. They were, today they have to look something else. I don't know what they're doing, but anyway, we should probably go on. We have a picture of Miami.
Looks like Miami to me.
This is from Clean Technica.
Can it be true? Florida's climate resilience plan is real?
Yeah, this is like the plan that we were talking about in Louisiana. The Environmental Defense Fund has come out in favor of Florida's new legislation that advances the prioritization of climate resilience. Moving through the Senate with what?
That's climate resilience. That's a good word.
Moving through the Senate with unanimous House approval. This, and by the way, it's got unanimous Senate approval apparently too now. This bill exemplifies a bipartisan effort to build climate and flood resilience in Florida. It's amazing to me.
They've got to do it, because if they don't, there isn't going to be any Florida.
I got news for you. I don't think there's going to be any Florida, even no matter how hard they try. I don't think they're going to be able to save that state. We've put off working on climate change many, many years beyond what we should have.
Absolutely.
Okay, should we go on, Tom?
Can't dance.
Okay, this is the thing.
Wednesday, May 10th.
What's that?
Wednesday, May 10th.
Wednesday, May 10th, you're right. And this is the thing that I was talking about when I said a different kind of damage from climate change. What you see there is a village called
I was
Breentz,
just going to say, there is a little village surrounded by mountains.
surrounded by mountains. That's right. And if you look at this village, if you look at the mountains, you'll see that mountains have bare rock sides above it. Now, I don't know
Yeah.
how long those rock sides have been bare, but it's possible that they're a lot more bare than they were a few years ago.
I hear you.
Now, above the center, or actually in the picture, it's almost exactly at the center of the picture, you can see white spots on the land. And those white spots are boulders, probably bigger than a kitchen door, that have
have rolled down
fallen
the
out
mountain.
of the mountain.
Roll down the mountain.
And those rocks above the village are moving at a speed that is scary. They're falling down, and what is expected is that this village that you can see there, looks like a delightful little place, is going to be completely destroyed within the next few days.
Within the next few days.
I said
Wow.
days. That's right.
It is imminent.
It's imminent. What do you
Yeah.
have for a title?
Swiss village of Brienz told to flee imminent monster rock slide.
When they say imminent, they mean imminent. Residents of the tiny Swiss village of Breentz have to pack their bags and leave immediately. 2 million cubic meters of rock from the mountain above is said to come loose and crash into the valley in the next few days. This is what it says in the article. This is from the BBC.
That's pretty scary.
Isn't it? This is because the permafrost has been melting due to global warming.
No, they wouldn't do that.
Oh, talk about stranded assets, Tom.
Yeah, for sure.
There's some assets that are being stranded. And these people don't have any, you can't jack those buildings up and move them across the land. They don't have
Not
time.
too easily.
What's that?
Not too easily.
Not too easily. So,
And that village has been there 1,000 years.
what's that?
That village has been there 1,000 years.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't really older than that, and they just don't have evidence of the older parts of it. And I've been in Switzerland. It's a country that is, I think, lovely. By the way, this is in eastern Switzerland. The people in that village speak German and Romansh.
Yeah.
You know what Romansh is?
It's sort of a little bit like Latin.
Yeah, I had a friend at one time who was a language teacher, and he was fluent in Italian, French, German, Greek, and English. And he told me that he was driving through this part of Switzerland with his wife quite a few years ago. And he all of a sudden realized that the local signs were appearing in German and Latin.
In Latin, huh?
And well, he thought it was Latin, but it
Romansh.
turned out it was Romansh. So, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Anyway, we have another picture coming up.
Picture of some wind turbines. How about that?
Yes, I think we've actually seen these wind turbines before. I don't recognize them, they don't come to mind, but I know that we have seen pictures by the photographer, as a person who identifies himself as Master Wen. And this particular article comes from Renews.
British wind outperforms gas in the first quarter of 2023.
Yeah, British wind turbines generated more electricity than gas-fired power stations for the first time in the first quarter of 2023. New data released by Drax Electric Insights has found almost a third, actually 32.4%, of Britain's electricity was supplied from wind power during the first quarter of the year, and that outpaced gas, which was delivering 31.7%.
Well, it won't be the last time.
No, the way that I look at this is, this is a trend. We're in a position here where records of this type are going to be broken over and over and over again. And if I could predict what I think is probably safely In the first quarter of 2024, the percentage of natural gas power produced will have declined and the wind power will have increased. And in the first quarter of 2025, you would have had similar changes from that point. And I just don't see how it could go any other way, except maybe.
Well, as I said, you don't have to pay for the fuel.
That's right, except in Texas. And we will talk about this next week.
Texas is a little bit different.
The Texas Senate just passed a bill so that the fossil fuels interests could get all kinds of financial giveaway, and it goes into billions and billions of dollars, but they specifically...
And some of it winds up in their pockets.
Well, it specifically is not allowed to go to renewable energy. And it is damaging...
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, and it's damaging enough that some of the renewable energy companies have basically said, well, we're not going to be developing renewable energy in Texas for a while. But you know, it's just, why would they commit themselves to sources of energy with unstable prices that go up and down like mad, when they can commit themselves to stabler forms of energy that with batteries are as stable, more stable, arguably, and I could go into this, than nuclear. And the reason is...
pockets the money is going.
It's exactly right. You know, where is the money going? Well, it's going to the dominant paradigm. I love that word. Paradigm is a really good word. I love it. Paradigm sounds like... Huh?
Let's move along here. We got a picture of a dry lake.
We have a picture of a dry lake. Let's put up a picture of a dry lake. This is a picture that I found because I couldn't find, the article in Clean Technica didn't have a good picture with it. So I just, you know, I did an image search on the word dry. And this is what I came up with. By the way, Tom, I did an image search that I was looking for myself because I knew that a picture of me appeared in a major magazine sometime before 1953.
Wow.
And I found it. It was in McCall's, which was a major magazine back in those days.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a picture of me having just got out of a shower. And I had a funny expression on my face because I was feeling cold. But I did that, and then I sent a copy of it to my daughter and her husband, and he went off and found a different picture of me that was on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post.
You got around in those days, huh?
Huh?
You got around in those days.
I did. The one on the Saturday Evening Post showed me in pajamas. You know, they had the flap in back in those pajamas.
Yeah, I remember that.
Running through a door with a whole bunch of people around, and I had the flap down. And I had known about that. I'd seen that picture many times, and I had always been told, nah, that's not you. That's just, you know, your Uncle John painting a painting of a boy who happens to look a little bit like you. But when my son-in-law sent it to me, he sent me a copy of an article that was about, it was very short. Let me see if I can get, there it is. Very short, maybe 3 inches, maybe less. But it referred to that picture, and it said, it gave my name in full.
About that.
So I don't know. Anyway, in this particular picture, I should put it back up, I had found a picture of just dry, and I labeled it not enough water. And that looks like there's a dam or a sea break or something in the background, seawall.
I think it's a bridge.
A bridge. I think you're right. Anyway, this is from Clean Technica. So what do you have for a title?
Water scarcity keeps legislators and private companies finding new solutions.
Yeah, as the planet warms and populations grow, the United Nations expects a 40% shortfall in the world's water supply just 7 years from now.
Now, that's very scary.
Well, I don't know what the shortfall is now, but you know, it might be 30%, might be 35%. 40% is going to be the biggest they've ever had, but there's a big shortfall now. Partnerships and cooperation are essential to realize the human right to water, and sometimes they form in unusual places. And you know, I want to mention something.
Concept, the human right to water.
Yeah.
It's basically true.
I think, yeah, if we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I think we certainly have a right to the things necessary to be alive, and that includes clean air, clean water, and a reasonable supply of food.
Well, if they didn't have a human right to water, a lot of old cowboy movies just wouldn't exist.
I guess. You know, you're reminding me of Death Valley days, Ronald Reagan and the 20 Mule Team borax thing with a big water tank in the back. My brother, this is something I could mention too here. My brother has many years ago, invented a filter that filters pathogens out of water. And these are, excuse me, microbes.
Pretty good filter.
Yeah, microbes and even viruses are filtered out of the water.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been tested by the United Nations. And the United Nations rated it as the best filter of those they were testing at the time. It was tested by the government of Bangladesh, which tested it by pouring Ganges River water untreated through it.
Doesn't get much cleaner than that, does it?
I guess. And when it came out, it had a big bacteria count of 0.
No kidding.
Yeah. And the thing that prevents my brother from making scads of money on this, which by the way has got patents on it, is that the filter is so simple to make that it can be made for something like $3 by any village potter. And
wow.
And you know, it's the kind of thing that can just be made. And once it's made, it will last until it breaks because it's made of ceramic.
Yeah.
And you can back flush it so that if it gets dirty or something, it can be cleaned out.
Yeah.
So there are avenues of hope here. So our last slide suggests to our audience that they have a superbly serene week. I put that up just to prove that I'm actually telling the truth when I say ridiculous things like that.
I don't have a picture of that one.
I know you don't. But you can visualize it. Anyway, Tom and I are wishing everybody goodbye. He has his own message to say on that, I think.
You all come back and see us now, you hear?
And we're both waving. And
So is my cat.
Your cat is this time too. Okay, good. Glad to hear it. Bye-bye.